Avengers Endgame has a very catchy title. And Endgame, you know. And it sort of reminds me of a couple of things. One, the scriptures. And it reminded me of another movie. But the quote actually came from the Avengers Infinity War, which was the movie before this new movie Endgame that's coming out now. There was a character named Doctor Strange in the Infinity War movie, Avengers Infinity War. And at the end, when the Avengers and Doctor Strange lost the battle against Thanos, and Iron Man looks over at Doctor Strange because Doctor Strange gave Thanos the stone, and Iron Man looks over. He said, "What did you do?" And then he looked at him and he pretty much told Iron Man. He said, "We're in the end game now."
Why would you do that? We're in the end game now.
And so when he said that right away, I said, "Wow, that's deep." I will tell you why. Okay. The term endgame, actually, there's a synonym for the word game, which is event. So, saying endgame is the same as saying end event or end times event. Are you listening? Okay. There was a movie called Contact that came out a few years ago. Okay, I don't know if you all remember the movie. Very interesting movie about a young lady. I think it was Jodie Foster was in the movie. And I think she was an astrologer or something like that. And they were getting some message from space. And so they sent this message and sent it out, and everybody found out they were getting this message. And so it was this big thing. They want to see what this message is. So they ended up decoding the message, which was in some type of alien language, and it turned out to be a blueprint to build some type of spacecraft. And so they built this one spacecraft, and it was actually destroyed by some type of protester, some weirdo, you know. He destroyed this spacecraft with a bomb. And so when the young lady Jodie Foster thought it was all over with, because she wanted to go, but she didn't win the position to go on the first one in this particular ship, and so it was destroyed. And the person who won that position, he was killed. And so out of nowhere, Jodie Foster gets like a video call from this billionaire named Haddon. Okay, and Haddon contacted her to let her know they had another ship that was built. They were actually building two just in case something happened to the first one. And since the person who won the position for the first one was killed, then they were offering her a chance to go into space to see these particular aliens or whatever, to see what was going on. And so to make a long story short, the billionaire Haddon makes this statement. And when he made this statement, it stayed with me for all those years since the movie Contact actually came out. The statement was, and this is what he said. He said, "The powers that be have been very busy lately, falling over each other to position themselves for the game of the millennium." Interesting, huh? He said the powers that be have been falling over each other, trying to position themselves for what he calls the game of the millennium. Wow. 2 words, game. There it is again, end game. And we know millennial, we know that there's going to be a time called the millennium that's going to come forth after the destruction of the planet. Interesting, huh? Well, I hope I got your attention there. Okay, so now I want you to think about what we're talking about here. Now, there's a scripture I want to share with you. Okay, this scripture is in Ecclesiastes, and it's chapter 9, verse 2 and 3. All things come alike to all. There is one event to the righteous, and to the wicked, and to the good, and to the clean, to the unclean, to him that sacrificeth, and to him that sacrificeth not. As is the good, so is the sinner, and he that sweareth, and he that feareth the oath. There is an evil among all things that are done under the sun, that there is one event unto all. Yeah, also the hearts of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart while they live. After that they go to the dead. Now, what does the scripture mean when it says there is one event unto all? One event unto all, and then it goes on to talk about how evil men, that madness is in their heart even after they go to the dead, even after they die. What is this one event? It goes back to what we're talking about, the end game. Remember what I said about the word game actually means event, and the scripture says there's one event unto all. There is one event unto all. This is the Bible's end game, the scripture's end game. Okay, now I want you to pay attention. I want to read this scripture to you. This is 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10 through 13. But the day of Yahuwah will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. Wow. And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons are ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of Yahuwah, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat? Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for a new heaven and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Wow. So you mean to tell me the heavens are going to burn up? The earth is going to burn up? Wow. Now, I play chess, okay? And those of you that play chess know that the end game is a stage of the game of chess where there's only a few pieces left on the board. You know that the game is what? Soon to end. That's the end game. Now, the end game in the scriptures is very similar to this. Now, I want to share something with you. I want you to think about this, right? We know that in the Avengers Infinity War and the Avengers Endgame have a group of characters that play a major part in the future that takes place. Or I like to refer to it as, instead of the future that take place, the end time or end game. Okay? These characters that have a major role in Infinity War and the Endgame were, especially in the Infinity War, should I say, was Thanos. We know Thanos. The Star-Lord. Think about that. The Star-Lord. What are they trying to tell you here? The Star-Lord. Who is the Star-Lord? Or the Star Master? The Avengers. You have Doctor Strange. You have the Black Panther. You have Ebony Maw. You have Mantis and other characters which play a very important role leading up to what? The end game. Okay? We are about to enter into the end game of the scriptures. Are you hearing me? We are about to enter into it. And some of the key characters have already stepped on the scene. Just like I mentioned, the characters of the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, likewise the scripture has characters or key characters that will play a very important role in the end times endgame. You have the two witnesses. You have the spirit of Elijah, the spirit of Jehu, the spirit of Ahab, and Jezebel. You have Yahushua HaMashiach, the angels, the red dragon, which is Satan, and his angels. They all play a very vital role in the end times or end game or end event. Both had a seer of the future. Interesting, huh? We know that John saw the future and he wrote it in the book of Revelation, right? He saw the future and he recorded all the characters and everything, how the end was going to take place, even down to the destruction of the earth and how many people would die, right? And in the Avengers Infinity War, they had who? Doctor Strange, who could see through time using the gem that he had, the stone that he had. He could see through time. And you remember in the movie, he was floating in the air actually on another plane. He's floating in the air and he was looking through time. He was looking through all the different variations to see how could they beat Thanos. And he looked, when he came out of it, he told him he was viewing into all the different scenarios in the future. He says only one way that they were going to beat Thanos, only one that they actually win.
Hey, what was that?
Went forward in time to view alternate futures, to see all the possible outcomes of the coming conflict.
How many did you see?
14,605,000.
How many did we win?
One.
Doctor Strange, the same person who said what? We're in the end game. So because he could see the future, he knew what path to take. So we see the future, don't we? And you may say, how do we see the future? Through the scriptures. Prophecy. John gave us prophecy of the future so that we would see the end times or the end events or the end game. Okay? Now, I want you to pay attention. Okay? I need you to really open your eyes and think about what I'm talking about here, right? Remember, the guy said that the powers that be are setting themselves up for the game of the millennium. Do you see what's going on? In the natural, we have the United States, Russia, and China, Israel, and the Arab nations doing what? Setting themselves up, right? For a battle. Setting themselves up, trying to get position. Right? In the spiritual, you have what? Angels and demons and the spiritual forces at work, setting themselves up to bring about what? The prophecy. The end time vision of John. Right? We know that in the movie Infinity War, Thanos snaps his finger and wipes out half the universe. Half the Earth population is wiped out in the Infinity War, right? I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to show you here. I want you to really think about this, okay? There are 7.5 billion people on the earth right now, Okay? Now, according to the book of Revelations, the book of Revelation gives you some things that's going to take place in the future. Okay? It's just like Dr. Strange was looking into the future. We can look into the future through John, through the book of Revelation. Okay? We have Revelation chapter 6, verse 7 and 8. I want you to pay attention to the scripture. It says, when he opened the fourth seal, I heard a voice of the fourth living creature say, come, look, and behold a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. And they were given authority over the fourth of the earth to kill with the sword and with famine and with pestilence by the wild beasts of the earth. So wait a minute. This rider of the horse was given authority over a fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, famine, pestilence, and by the death of beasts of the earth. Wow. Now, according to the scripture, that 25% of the earth's people will die of 7.5 billion people. That's 1.8 billion people that will die, leaving about 5.6 billion left on the earth. Okay? Follow me. Now, in Revelations chapter 9, verse 13 through 18, it says that another third of that number will die. Now watch this. This is what it says. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before Elohim, saying to the sixth angel which had the trump, loose the four angels that are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. So third part of men are going to die. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having the breastplate of fire, and of jacinth, and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were the heads of lions, and their mouths issued fire, smoke, and brimstone. By these was the third part of men killed, by the fire, by smoke, and by brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. Now, this means that a third, or 33.3% of people will die of the 3.64 billion people left from the first scripture that I read. That's another 1.88 billion people that will die, leaving about 3.76 billion people left on the earth. The same number, 1.88 billion. So by this time, Yahuwah would have wiped out 3.76 billion people on the earth. So just within these two scriptures, 3.7 billion people of the earth will die. Just imagine the numbers of dead bodies that is. There's going to be dead bodies everywhere. That's half of the population of the earth right now. Now, guess what? in Infinity War, Thanos wipes out what? Half of the population of the earth. Wow. Just like the scriptures. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going on with this, because I've heard somebody say this. They said, actually, Thanos seems like he's more like Elohim than the devil. I'll tell you why there's a confusion going on with that, okay? But just watch this, right? In Revelations chapter 13, verse 7, listen to the scripture. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindred, tongues, and nations. Revelation chapter 13, verse 8 says, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. The Avengers Endgame is about the end of the world. Are you seeing it? Those of you that seen the Avengers Infinity War, remember the end scene, how creepy it was, huh? At the end of the movie, when people and heroes, these heroes of the movie, like Doctor Strange and Star-Lord and Spider-Man, how they all just vanished in death, huh? People had vanished all over the world, half the earth's population. Whole families were lost. But in the Endgame movie, Satan is trying to give people a false hope that they will be restored after judgment. This is the lie of the movie, that even after judgment, you will be restored. These writers, or shall I say the writers of these movies, have a very twisted understanding. They are blending the judgment of Yah with the wrath of Satan, and they are totally confused. Now, I want you to look at this scripture here. This is in Psalms chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahuwah, against his anointed, saying, let us break the bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Prophecy again. Notice the sixth angel which had the trumpet was about the great river Euphrates, which is about Armageddon. It says when you see the river Euphrates dry up, is to make war for who? The armies of the east. See, they're doing what? They're gaining a position for what? The game of the millennial. There it is, right there, right? So now, look at this. In Revelation chapter 16, verse 13 through 16, it says this. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of the waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, thou art righteous, O Yahuwah, which art, was, and shall be, because thou hast judged thus, because they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. And I heard another out of the altar say, also, even also, Yahuwah Elohim Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scourge men, with fire. And men were scourged with great heat and blasphemed the name of Elohim, which have power over these plagues. And they repented not to give him glory. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and blasphemed Elohim of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophets. For they are spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of Yahuwah Almighty. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called, in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. We know that the powers that be, as far as natural, are who? The United States and Russia and China, Israel and Saudi Arabia, and the other Arab nations. They are doing what? They have been positioning themselves in strategic locations for this great battle of Armageddon. Just like Dr. Strange said, we're in the end games now. The two witnesses, how many die as a result of their plagues? Revelations chapter 11, verse 3 through 7. And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before Elohim of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed by fire. These have power to shut up heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. We know it's about the end time, the end of the world, where all these people are going to die. The Messiah returns, and the coming judgment is about the end game or end event. Remember what I said? Game, a synonym for game is event. So in game or in event. The Messiah is returning from what? His death, burial, resurrection, and ascension. He is where right now? At the right end. But he's coming back to bring what? Judgment on the whole earth. In Revelations chapter 19, verse 11 through 21, talks about this coming of the Messiah and how he will bring judgment on the earth. Listen. And I saw heaven open, And behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doeth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood. And his name is called the Word of Elohim. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty Elohim. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Master of Masters. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying, to all the fowl that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great Elohim, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and the flesh of them that sat on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bound, both small and great. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, and which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of burning, of fire, burning with brimstone. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon a horse, which sword proceedeth out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh. So wait a minute. Wow. So you mean to tell me that Yahushua HaMashiach is going to show up and he's going to slay what the remnant that was left after the 3.7 billion people? Man. See, don't be deceived by these movies. The end times or end game is upon us. And there's no second chance after this. Just like Dr. Strange said. He said, we're in the end games. If we're not in the end games right now, we're very close to it. Because the powers that be are falling over each other and set themselves up for what? They are positioning themselves for what? The game. The end game of the millennium.